The wind on Moonbase Delta never really stopped. It howled across the cracked ground, carrying dust that sparkled under the twin suns. Inside the small metal outpost, a man named Eli Grant sat alone, listening to the hum of old machines. He had been working there for years, fixing mining bots and radio towers for people who had already forgotten his name. His only company was the radio static, until the knock came. At first, Eli thought it was just the wind again, but then it came once more. 3 slow knocks. He frowned and stood up, checking the outer camera. The screen showed nothing but the endless white desert. Then a movement. Something small was standing by the door, its shadow trembling in the cold light. Eli grabbed his pulse wrench just in case. "Who's out there?" He shouted through the speaker. No answer. Only silence, then a tiny voice came through the intercom, soft, scared, but clear. "Please, sir, can you be my dad for one day?" Eli froze. He blinked at the screen again. The small figure stepped closer to the camera and his breath caught. It was a child, but not a human one. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly like the moonlight itself. Her big silver eyes blinked slowly, and in her small hand she held out a glowing piece of paper. "A $5 bill. I can pay you," she said, her voice trembling. "5 Earth dollars. Please say yes." Eli felt something twist inside his chest. He hadn't seen a child in years, not since the accident that took his daughter. He opened the door slowly, half afraid this was some kind of dream. Cold air rushed in, carrying dust and silence. The little alien girl looked up at him. She was shivering, her tiny feet leaving glowing prints on the ground. "You're gonna freeze out here," Eli said softly. "Come inside." She nodded and stepped in. The airlock sealed behind them with a hiss. Inside the dim room, she looked around curiously at the old machines and blinking lights. Eli poured her a cup of warm synth cocoa and placed it in front of her. She smiled shyly, then carefully put the glowing $5 bill on the table. "Is this enough?" she asked. Eli looked at it, then at her. "Enough for what, kid?" "To be my dad. Just for one day." He sat back, trying to understand. "Where are your parents?" Her eyes dropped. "Gone. Humans took them away. They said I was special." Eli's stomach tightened. He had heard stories about human labs experimenting on alien species for military use. But this girl looked so innocent, so lost. "Why me?" he asked. "There are hundreds of people out there." She looked up, her eyes full of light. "Because you looked kind in the camera." For a long moment, the room was silent except for the hum of machines. Eli sighed and rubbed his face. "All right," he said finally. "Just for one day." The girl's smile grew wide. "Thank you, Dad." Eli didn't correct her. Something about the way she said it filled the cold outpost with a strange warmth. As the hours passed, she followed him around, asking curious questions about every button, every wire. She was smart, too smart. She learned things quickly, even helped him fix a broken radio drone by just touching it. The machine blinked and came back to life, humming softly. Eli stared at her. "How did you—" She giggled. "It's easy. Machines like me." When night fell, she sat near the window, staring at the stars. "That one," she said, pointing, "is my home, or—" "Was." Before Eli could ask more, his radio crackled. A voice came through, deep, robotic, cold. "Attention, Outpost Delta. Return the subject immediately. You are harboring stolen property." Eli's heart stopped. "Who is this?" he demanded, static. Then the same voice again. "You have something that belongs to us. Return the child or die." The little alien girl looked up at him, her eyes wide with fear. "They found me," she whispered. Outside, the desert lights began to flicker. In the distance, dark shapes were moving. Fast. Eli stepped in front of her and grabbed his pulse rifle. "Stay behind me, kid." The girl held his sleeve tightly, her small hand shaking. "I'm sorry, Dad," she said softly. "They always find me." Eli took a deep breath, staring at the shadows growing closer. Not this time. The sound of engines roared outside. The hunt had begun. The night sky above Moonbase Delta was burning. Eli Grant stood by the window, watching dark ships move like ghosts through the dust storm. Their red lights cut through the clouds, scanning the ground. Somewhere out there, someone wanted the little alien girl back. And they were coming fast. The girl sat quietly near the control table, hugging her knees. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "They found me again," she whispered. Eli checked his pulse rifle. "Not for long," he muttered. You said they took your parents. Who are they? The girl looked down. Humans. The ones who said they wanted peace. They made me do tests. They said I could fix things just by touching them. Eli frowned. And you escaped? She nodded slowly. Yes. But they will never stop. I'm not supposed to exist, her voice trembled. She looked so small, so fragile. But there was power hidden behind her eyes. Something that made Eli's skin crawl and heart ache at the same time. He walked to his control panel and hit a few switches. Engines in the underground hangar began to hum. We're leaving, he said. Now, the girl stood up. Where will we go? Anywhere they can't follow. Eli guided her through the narrow corridors of the outpost. Dust fell from the ceiling as explosions echoed outside. The base's warning lights turned red. Dad? She asked softly, holding his hand as they ran. He glanced at her. The word Dad still hit him like a hammer, a painful reminder of his real daughter, gone years ago in a mining accident. But when this alien child looked at him, he couldn't help but feel something familiar, something human. They reached the hangar. Eli's old ship, the Rusthawk, waited in the shadows. It was rusty, slow, and half-broken, but it was all he had. He helped her climb aboard and started the launch sequence. Strap in, he said. This might get rough. The engines roared to life, shaking the whole structure. Just as the ship lifted off the ground, a red laser beam sliced across the hangar, missing them by inches. Damn it, Eli yelled, jerking the controls. The Rusthawk shot out into the storm, dodging between flying rocks and blinding dust. Through the window he saw 3 black drones chasing them, silent, deadly, like metal vultures. The girl gasped. They're tracking me through my signal. Eli gritted his teeth. Can you stop it? I think so, but it will hurt. Do it, he said. She placed her glowing hands on her chest and the lights in the cabin flickered. Her veins shimmered with blue fire and she screamed softly. Then in silence, the radar went blank. They lost us, Eli said, surprised. The girl fell back into her seat, breathing heavily. I turned off my link. They can't see us. For now. He handed her a blanket. You did good, kid, she smiled weakly. My name is Lyra. Eli nodded. All right, Lyra, rest now. We've got a long way to go. But before she closed her eyes, she looked at him again. You were a father once, she said quietly. Eli's hand froze on the controls. How did you? I saw it. In your memories, when you touched me earlier. You still love her, he swallowed hard. She's gone, Lyra nodded. I know. That's why you said yes to me. The words hit him like a knife. He turned away, pretending to focus on the stars ahead. The storm outside cleared, revealing the deep, endless space. For a moment, everything felt calm. But then a sudden alarm flashed red on the console. Unidentified signal detected, the computer warned. Eli's heart sank. No, they found us again. Lyra sat up, fear returning to her eyes. They'll never stop. Eli's voice hardened. Then neither will I. He pulled the ship into a steep dive, heading toward a nearby asteroid field. Laser fire followed them, lighting up the dark sky. The Rusthawk spun wildly, scraping rocks and sparks. Inside, Lyra screamed, holding the seat tight. We're going to crash. Not if I can help it, Eli growled, slamming the thrusters. The ship barely made it between 2 massive asteroids. Behind them, the drones exploded one by one against the rocks. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Eli slowed down. His hands trembled as he took a deep breath. We made it. For now. Lyra looked at him, her eyes full of tears and light. You saved me again, Dad? He smiled faintly, though his voice cracked when he replied. Yeah, I guess I did. Outside, the stars flickered like tiny fires. Somewhere out there, the people hunting them were already regrouping. But for the first time in years, Eli felt something he hadn't felt since his daughter died. Purpose. And he knew one thing for sure. He would protect Lyra, no matter what it cost him. The asteroid field was quiet now. Eli Grant shut down the ship's engines and floated in the shadow of a giant rock, hiding from scanners. The silence after the chase felt strange. Too calm, too still. Inside the small ship, soft lights glowed on the metal walls. The little alien girl, Lyra, was asleep on the narrow bunk wrapped in a silver blanket. Her blue skin shimmered like moonlight, her small hand resting on the glowing $5 bill she still refused to let go. Eli sat by the control panel staring at her. He didn't know who she really was, or what kind of power she carried inside her, but she was just a child, and he had promised to protect her. He sighed and checked the radar again. "No signals," he whispered. "We're safe for now." Lyra stirred in her sleep, whispering words he didn't understand. Her skin flickered with soft light, forming strange symbols across her arm, like glowing alien letters. Eli leaned closer, frowning. "What are you?" he murmured. Suddenly Lyra gasped and sat up, breathing fast. Her eyes glowed bright silver. "They're still looking for us," she said. "I can feel them," Eli tried to calm her. "You're safe here. Nobody can find us inside this rock," she shook her head. "They don't need scanners. They can feel my signal in their minds," he froze. "In their minds?" "Yes, I was made to talk without words, to heal without touch, to think faster than humans." The way she said it made Eli's chest tighten. "You were made?" Lyra nodded slowly. "My parents were real, but the humans changed me. They said I was a bridge between their world and ours. They took me away when I was small. They called me Project Lightseed." Eli's heart sank. "They experimented on you?" Tears formed in her glowing eyes. "They wanted to use my power to fix dying planets. But when I learned how to use it myself, they got scared. They said I was dangerous." She looked down, trembling. "They said they would erase me." Eli clenched his fists. "Monsters," he muttered. Lyra looked up at him, her voice small. "Do you think I'm dangerous too, Dad?" The question hit him like a punch. He looked at her, small, shaking, scared, and saw not an alien weapon, but a child who just wanted love. He smiled softly. "No, kid, I think you're a miracle." For the first time she smiled, a real gentle smile that filled the cold cabin with warmth. But the peace didn't last. A sudden alarm blinked on the screen. The ship's power was dropping fast. Lights flickered and the floor trembled. "Not now," Eli muttered, checking the controls. The engine core was overheating. He pulled a wrench and opened the floor panel, but the circuits were fried. "We're dead in the water unless I fix this." Lyra crawled closer, watching him struggle. "Can I help?" he sighed. "Unless you're good with plasma coils, I don't think—" Before he could finish, she touched the broken wires with her glowing hands. Light spread through the circuits and the ship hummed back to life. Eli blinked. "How did you—" She smiled faintly. "I told you. Machines like me," he laughed softly. "You might just be my favorite mechanic." But then her face changed. The symbols on her skin began to glow again, brighter this time. Her body trembled. "Lyra," Eli said, worried. She clutched her chest. "It hurts my power." "It's growing." He grabbed her shoulders. "Stay with me, kid. Don't fight it alone." Her eyes filled with tears. "If I lose control, I'll hurt you." "You won't," he said firmly. "I trust you." A wave of light exploded from her body, and bright and silent. Every system in the ship shut down for a second. When the light faded, she collapsed into his arms, breathing weakly. Eli held her close, whispering, "You're okay. I've got you." When she finally opened her eyes again, her voice was barely a whisper. "I saw something before I passed out. A place, a blue world. It's calling to me." Eli frowned. "A blue world?" She nodded. "It said, 'Come home.'" He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was the truth, about her, about Project Lightseed, about what she really was. He brushed a lock of glowing hair from her face. "Then that's where we're going," she smiled weakly. "Will you come with me, Dad?" Eli's voice softened. "Always." Outside the stars shimmered. But far away in the darkness, unseen ships were already on the move, following the faint trail of light that even Lyra couldn't hide forever. The chase wasn't over. It had only just begun. The stars outside the Rust Hawk looked like frozen fireflies. Eli Grant sat in the cockpit, staring at the endless dark. It had been 2 days since Lyra saw that strange vision, a blue world calling her home. Since then, she hadn't spoken much. She just sat by the window, tracing stars on the glass with her glowing finger. The silence between them was heavy, but gentle, the kind of silence that came when two souls were thinking the same thing but couldn't say it out loud. Finally, Eli broke it. "You said you saw a world," he murmured. "Can you describe it?" Lyra's silver eyes glowed faintly. "It wasn't a place I've seen before. It was full of light. The sky looked like water, and there was a voice, Soft like a song. Eli frowned, tapping on the control panel. Could be a memory. Or a signal. Signal? She asked, tilting her head. Yeah, he said, opening a scanner display. You're not just powerful, kid. You might be transmitting or receiving messages you don't even know about. He linked the ship's sensors to Lyra's bioscan. Strange symbols flickered on the screen, the same glowing lines that had appeared on her skin. They were forming patterns, shifting like waves. Eli blinked. It's a map. Lyra leaned closer. A map to where? Let's find out. He ran the translation program and slowly a shape appeared. A spiral galaxy with one blinking point of light near its edge. A small planet shining bright blue. Lyra gasped softly. That's it. The world from my dream. Eli smiled faintly. Guess we've got a destination. He set the course and the Rusthawk roared into hyperspace. Hours passed in silence. The stars outside turned into streaks of light. Lyra sat beside him, holding the $5 bill close like it was a lucky charm. She looked at him quietly. Why did you stay here all alone before you met me? Eli chuckled softly. Because I thought there was nothing left worth caring about. And now? She asked. He smiled. Now I'm not so sure. Lyra's smile was small, but it lit the cabin more than any star outside. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The warning siren screamed. Eli slammed the controls. We're being pulled out of hyperspace! The Rusthawk jerked violently as a gravity beam dragged it out of warp. Outside, a massive ship appeared. Black, silent, covered in strange symbols. Eli's heart pounded. That's not human tech. Lyra's face went pale. It's them. The ones who made me. Before Eli could react, a voice filled the cabin and deep, cold echoing from everywhere at once. Project Lightseed detected. Return the subject immediately. Eli grabbed the comm mic. She's not your experiment. She's a child. Incorrect, the voice replied. She is property of the Orion Research Command. Lyra clutched his arm. Dad, please. They'll take me again. Eli's anger flared. Over my dead body. He hit the engine's full power, breaking free of the beam. The small ship trembled but pushed forward, diving into a nearby asteroid belt. Rocks spun around them as the dark ship fired plasma bolts. Explosions lit up the void like thunder in space. Lyra closed her eyes and whispered something under her breath. A strange language Eli didn't recognize. Suddenly, the asteroids around them began to move, shifting like they were alive. What the hell? Eli gasped. They listened to me, Lyra said, her voice calm and distant. Everything listens. The asteroids formed a wall blocking the enemy's fire. The Rusthawk slipped through a gap and vanished into the shadows. When the shooting stopped, Eli turned to her, stunned. You just saved us, Lyra shook her head. No, someone else did, he frowned. What do you mean? She pointed at the ship's console. A blinking message had appeared, written in glowing alien letters. Eli translated it. Bring the light seed to the world of Arian. The truth waits beneath the blue sky. Lyra's eyes widened. Arian, that's the name I heard in my dream. Eli leaned back in his chair. Then that's where we're going next. She looked at him, fear and hope mixing in her eyes. It's far away, dangerous, he grinned. Kid, danger's the only thing I'm good at. For the first time in hours, Lyra laughed, a small, real laugh. Outside, the asteroids drifted apart and beyond them, a faint blue glow shimmered in the distance. The message had given them direction. But in the darkness behind them, the hunters were not done. The Orion ship stayed in pursuit, silent, patient, and closer than Eli realized. Their journey to Arian had begun. And with it, the truth that could change not just their lives, but the future of two worlds. The blue planet called Arian shone ahead like a jewel in the dark. Eli Grant had seen 1,000 worlds in his life, but none looked like this, wrapped in swirling clouds, glowing oceans, and an energy that made his heart race. It felt alive. Beside him, Lyra pressed her small hand against the window. That's the place from my dream, she whispered. It's beautiful. Eli smiled softly. Then let's go home, kid. The Rusthawk entered the planet's atmosphere, wings burning red against the light. But as they descended, something strange happened. The ship's instruments started to fail. Screens flickered, compasses spun wildly. Lyra frowned. Something's wrong. Eli cursed under his breath. Gravity's unstable here, hold on. The ship spiraled down. breaking through thick clouds before crashing into a soft field of glowing grass. The impact threw sparks, dust, and silence. When the smoke cleared, Eli groaned and unbuckled his seatbelt. "Still in one piece," he muttered. Lyra stood beside him, unharmed, her skin glowing brighter than ever. "This place, it feels like it knows me." Eli looked around. The sky shimmered with floating lights and strange trees pulsed gently like beating hearts. The air smelled sweet, like rain after fire. They started walking toward a tall crystal tower in the distance. It stood alone, shining blue like a beacon. Lyra's steps grew faster, almost as if she was being pulled toward it. When they reached the base, the tower opened, doors sliding silently. "Should we go in?" Eli asked. Lyra nodded. "It's waiting for me." Inside, the walls were alive with moving light. As they walked, images appeared, holograms showing humans and aliens working together, building machines and then testing children like Lyra. Eli's stomach turned. "What the hell is this?" A voice echoed from above, soft female but mechanical. "Welcome, Lightseed. You have returned." Lyra looked around. "Who are you?" "I am the core. I created you." "And the one beside you?" Eli froze. "What do you mean created me?" The voice hummed. "Eli Grant, former soldier. Your memories were modified. You were chosen to protect the Lightseed until activation." His chest tightened. "That's not true." "It is. You were programmed to bond with her emotionally." "Your loss made you useful," Lyra gasped. "No, he's not a program. He's my dad." Eli stepped back, shaking his head. "This can't be real." "I remember my daughter." "A simulation," the voice replied coldly. "To make you believe." His knees went weak. The world spun. Everything he thought he knew, his past, his pain, could it all be fake? Lyra grabbed his hand. "Don't listen. You're real. You feel real." Eli looked at her trembling face. "Then why do I feel like a lie?" Before either could speak, alarms blared. Red light filled the chamber. The core's voice turned sharp. "Warning, intruders detected. Orion forces approaching." Eli's instincts kicked in. "We have to move." They ran back toward the exit, but before they reached it, the roof exploded. Soldiers in black armor dropped down, guns raised, hands up, shouted the leader, a tall woman with a scar across her cheek. "You can't hide her anymore," Lyra clung to Eli. "Dad!" He raised his weapon. "You'll have to go through me first." The woman smiled coldly. "Eli Grant, still protecting your toy?" He fired. Blue plasma hit the wall behind her as the soldiers returned fire. Energy bolts filled the air. Lyra screamed. "Stop, please." In that moment, something inside her snapped. Her body burst into pure light, sending soldiers flying backward. The ground shook, machines short-circuited, and the core's voice cried out, "Lightseed is awakening." Eli shielded his eyes. "Lyra, stop. You'll burn yourself out." But she didn't hear him. She was floating, eyes glowing white, the air around her bending. Then, through the chaos, the scarred woman pressed a button on her wrist. A containment field snapped around Lyra, trapping her inside a glowing cube. Eli rushed forward, but a shockwave threw him across the room. His vision blurred. He heard Lyra's voice, soft and broken. "Dad, I'm sorry." And then she was gone, the cube vanishing into light as the Orion ship took off. When Eli opened his eyes again, the tower was in ruins. Smoke and silence surrounded him. He fell to his knees, staring at the empty space where she had stood. His hand still held the glowing $5 bill, now faint, almost fading. He clenched it tightly and whispered, "I'm coming for you, Lyra. No matter what I am, you're my daughter." And in the dark sky above Arion, the Orion ships disappeared among the stars, carrying the child who could change the universe, and the man who would do anything to bring her back. The cold stars of Arion's orbit flickered above the wreck of the Rusthawk. Eli Grant sat inside the broken cockpit, blood dried on his face, eyes fixed on the small glowing $5 bill in his hand. It was the only thing left of Lyra. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her, trapped in that cage of light, calling his name as the Orion soldiers took her away. And every time he heard his own voice shouting her name in vain. He had been many things in his life, soldier, mechanic, wanderer, but for the first time, he felt like what he truly was, a father who had failed, but not for long. He looked up at the dark sky and whispered, "I'm coming, kid. Hours later, the stolen enemy ship hummed quietly as it left Orion's orbit. Eli had raided the remains of a fallen Orion patrol, patched their tech together and traced their signal. It led to a massive station hidden behind the planet's shadow. The Citadel, a floating fortress of metal and fire. Inside that station, Lyra was being held. Eli tightened the straps on his armor and checked the plasma rifle one last time. The reflection in the metal window showed a man who was tired, broken but burning with purpose. "All right, Grant," he muttered. "One more fight." The Orion station loomed larger by the minute, a maze of towers, cannons and hangar bays glowing with eerie blue light. As he neared the outer ring, Eli activated the ship's stealth field. It flickered like smoke, making his vessel invisible for a few seconds, just enough to slip through the scanners. He landed the ship quietly inside a maintenance tunnel, pulled his hood low and stepped into the metal corridors. Everywhere, robotic guards patrolled. Their eyes glowed red, their footsteps echoing like thunder. Eli moved like a shadow. He remembered every inch of military training he'd ever learned. Quick, silent, unseen. He hacked a terminal and downloaded the prison layout. The screen showed her location. Containment room 47B, deep underground. "She's alive," he whispered. "Hold on, Lyra." The path to the lower level was filled with danger. At one corner, 2 guards walked by, speaking in their harsh metallic voices. Subject's energy levels rising. Core wants her ready for transfer. Eli's blood ran cold. Transfer. That meant they were moving her, maybe to erase her completely. He couldn't wait any longer. He crept behind them, struck fast, and silenced both with the back of his rifle. No time for mercy. Finally, he reached the containment room. A massive steel door blocked the way, pulsing with energy. He placed his hand on the control panel. "Come on, open." The system scanned his fake Orion ID. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a click. The door slid open. Inside, Lyra floated in a glass chamber, her body glowing faintly. Her eyes were closed, tears frozen on her cheeks. "Lyra," Eli whispered, stepping forward. She stirred, weak and pale. "Dad?" He smiled shakily. "Yeah, kid. It's me. You came back." "Of course I did," he said, smashing the control panel with his wrench. "Did you really think I'd leave you?" The chamber cracked, then shattered. Lyra fell into his arms, trembling. "I thought I'd never see you again." "You're safe now," Eli said, holding her close. "We're getting out of here," but the alarms screamed to life. Red lights flashed across the room. A cold voice filled the air. "Unauthorized access detected. Initiate lockdown," Eli cursed. "We've got company." Robotic soldiers poured in from every door. Plasma fire lit up the room. Eli fired back, his aim sharp, his heart racing. "Stay behind me, kid." Lyra, still weak, raised her glowing hand. Energy rippled through the floor, and the walls bent like liquid. The soldiers froze mid-step, their weapons melting. Eli stared in shock. "How?" She looked at him, her voice soft but fierce. "I'm not scared anymore." They ran through the burning corridors together. Every alarm blared, every door slammed shut behind them. The station trembled, explosions echoing in the distance. Finally, they reached the hangar bay. Eli saw his stolen ship waiting, engines ready. "Go," he shouted. But before they could board, the scarred Orion commander appeared, the same woman who had taken Lyra. Her armor glowed with red power. "You can't escape," she hissed. "She belongs to us," Eli raised his weapon. Not anymore. They fought, a brutal, close battle of steel and rage. The commander was faster, stronger, but Eli had something she didn't: love and fury. When she knocked him to the ground, Lyra screamed. Her power burst again, lighting up the whole hangar. The commander's armor cracked, her eyes wide with fear. "No!" she shouted. "You'll destroy—" A flash of light swallowed everything. When Eli opened his eyes, the station was collapsing. Fire and smoke filled the air. Lyra was kneeling beside him, tears shining on her glowing face. "Dad, I couldn't stop it." He touched her cheek gently. "You saved us, kid. That's all that matters." He carried her into the ship, and they blasted out of the exploding citadel just as it tore apart behind them. Through the window, the stars looked brighter, like freedom. Eli leaned back in his seat, holding her small hand. "We made it, Lyra," she smiled weakly. "You always say that, Dad." He laughed softly. "Yeah, and I always mean it." But deep down, Eli knew something had changed inside her. Her power was growing faster than before. And whatever she had awakened in that explosion wasn't done yet. Their final chapter was waiting, somewhere beyond the stars. The stars drifted past like slow-moving dreams. Inside the small ship, silence hung heavy, the kind of silence that comes after surviving something too big to understand. Eli Grant sat in the cockpit, staring at the endless dark ahead. Beside him, Lyra slept quietly, her small hand glowing faintly in the dim light. Every rise and fall of her chest reminded him she was still alive and still his. But something felt wrong. Her glow was dimmer than before. Eli checked the scanner. Her energy levels were dropping fast. The explosion from the Orion Citadel had drained her power, maybe her life. He clenched his fists. "Don't you dare leave me now," he whispered. "Not after everything." Hours later, Lyra woke. Her voice was soft. "Dad?" He turned quickly, trying to smile. "Hey, kid. You scared me there." She smiled faintly. "I'm tired." "Then rest," he said, forcing his voice to stay calm. She shook her head. "No, I can feel it. The power inside me. It's fading. I used too much when I saved you." Eli reached for her hand. "We'll find help. There's got to be someone on Arian who can fix this." But Lyra just looked at him with those silver eyes full of peace. "You don't understand. I wasn't made to live long. I was made to shine and then fade." His heart cracked. "No, you're more than some experiment. You're my daughter." She smiled again, weak but beautiful. "You taught me what that word means." They landed on a quiet green planet, one the ship's computer had found nearby. The air was warm, the sky full of strange birds with crystal wings. It didn't appear on any human maps. Eli carried Lyra out of the ship and laid her gently on the soft grass. The sunlight made her blue skin shimmer like water. She looked up at the clouds and whispered, "It's beautiful." Eli sat beside her. "Yeah," he said softly. "It is." For a while, neither spoke. The wind moved through the glowing trees, and the sound felt almost like music. Then Lyra reached into her small bag and pulled out the glowing $5 bill. It was worn, faded, but still warm. "Do you remember this?" she asked. Eli laughed through his tears. "How could I forget? You bribed me into being your dad." She giggled faintly. "Best $5 I ever spent." Her hand trembled as she gave it to him. "Keep it so you don't forget me." Eli's throat tightened. "Lyra, I'll never—" But before he could finish, her light flickered again. She looked up at him, eyes wide, voice soft as starlight. "Dad, thank you for giving me a day, and a life." And then she closed her eyes. Eli held her tightly as the light faded from her skin. The wind stopped. The world went silent. He didn't know how long he sat there, minutes, hours, maybe days. The stars rose and still he held her. When he finally looked up, dawn was breaking, golden light spreading across the hills. He laid the $5 bill beside her and whispered, "Goodbye, kid." Then he stood alone, on a strange world. A broken man with nothing left but a promise. But the universe wasn't done with him yet. As Eli walked back toward the ship, he heard something, a faint hum behind him. The air shimmered. The $5 bill began to glow brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. He turned, eyes wide. Lyra's body was gone. In its place, a small orb of light floated, spinning slowly. Her voice, wound on soft and clear, filled the air. "Don't be sad, Dad. I'm still here." The light drifted toward him, circling his hand. "You gave me love. That made me real. Now it's my turn to give something back." Before he could speak, the light flowed into his chest, warm, bright, alive. Eli gasped as energy surged through him. His scars vanished. The pain in his body disappeared. He felt whole. Then from the edge of the forest he heard laughter, soft, familiar. A small figure stepped out from the light, a little girl no longer glowing, but human. Brown hair, bright eyes, a smile he would know anywhere. She held the $5 bill and said, "Hi, Dad. Miss me?" Eli froze, his heart pounding. "Lyra?" She nodded. "I told you. I don't fade. I just change." He dropped to his knees, tears falling freely. "You came back." She ran into his arms, laughing. "I never left." He held her tight, feeling her heartbeat, real, strong, alive. Above them, the sky turned gold, and for the first time in years, Eli felt peace. The war, the pain, the lies, all of it faded. All that remained was a father, a daughter, and a small glowing bill that had started everything. And somewhere, far away in the quiet reaches of space, a soft message echoed through the stars. The light seed lives, not as a weapon, but as hope.